That one moment. It was hard for me to pick that one movie in church when choosing the films for the sermon series. I really wasn't sure which to pick because I love a lot of movies. And I wanted to be able to speak to the moment that we're in right now while also looking at that one moment, of the church's message for us. Film has been speaking to me and bringing good news to me since I was little. It is, I can quote you all kinds of movies, and we can learn so much. So, honestly, we could watch Get Out or Parasite or The Handmaid's Tale and learn a great deal, right? But a little too much. Okay, we could watch Castaway with Tom Hanks or Gravity with Sandra Bullock, right? But, those are kind of funny, right? For laughing at where we are maybe a little bit, but also speaking to that moment. So then I get a little closer and I thought about Jojo Rabbit. That was a contender. And Stranger Than Fiction, or the animated movie Princess Mononoke, all of those spoke to me a word of possibility amidst tragedy. Spoke a word of hope piercing the darkness of fascism or isolation or destruction. In all of these films, life and freedom finds a way, and love ultimately is the frequency that leads the heroes toward peace and deeper relationships and alleviates pain and suffering. I also wanted a movie that children could engage with in this series. In my house, the kids have watched all these movies that we've seen together. Maybe that's true in your house too, but I thought about Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse. Okay, this movie came out in 2018 and a lot of kids have seen it, and it will turn your world upside down until you realize that in our own way, we are all Spider-Man. And the world is counting on us. I thought about Mr. Megorium's Wonder Emporium. I love Disney's Brave and Tangled, all of those stories with a female protagonist in search of her dreams, and on the journey she finds herself and community. But when I watched A Wrinkle in Time 3 weeks ago, I did not know what healing and hope was in store and in abundance. I haven't stopped thinking about the movie releasing. I call it releasing, but I'm releasing tears. I'm crying all the time, but also releasing joy and receiving a divine message of possibility and hope and deep, grounded, ancient love. It is possible that you have read this book in your lifetime, and it is entirely possible that this book purposefully never found its way into your life. It has been a banned book. And if you are like me, you are drawn to the banned books like a moth to the flame. But perhaps when this book was published, you were already out of your childhood years and you thought, I'm too old to read a children's book, or I don't know. Timing is everything. It may have just missed you. But did you know that it almost missed all of us entirely? It went through 26 publishers before print because it was considered too grown up for children in the first place. Did you know, you might have known this, that A Wrinkle in Time has been criticized for its deeply embedded Christology and simultaneously by Christians for not being Christian enough? Our movie discussion group on Friday agreed that we were picking up Jesus pretty loud and clear, though he may have never been directly quoted. I'm going to call it a paraphrase. A clear message in the movie that is that even in times of great darkness, there is light and there is love. And how we hear it? Love is not gone, it is enfolded. I'm pretty sure Jesus did say that, didn't he? In that upper room, I may not always be with you. He said, I will never leave you. Nothing can separate us from the love of God. This movie begins with light, with the birth of a family, and they know deep and abiding love. Love is not gone, it is enfolded. These words of power and wisdom and guidance are bestowed upon our hero, Meg Murray. And first, they're given to her as words of care. They're given to her from her father. And he shows her, and he's telling her, he shows her on a paper kaleidoscope about their love, because they're going to have a new baby in the house. So with the arrival of a new baby, he wants to teach her about how their love is not gone. And he says with this kaleidoscope, it's just enfolded, right? He shows them how their heart gets bigger. The heart can stretch and grow, Meg. It's more than it was before. It's enfolded, surrounded. Our love is enveloped. But like every human story, this family faces tragedy and loss and suffering, and living these words of wisdom proves nearly impossible for young Meg, as the literal absence of her father messes with her world. It is a dark and stormy night in her soul. But then we follow Meg and her brother, Charles Wallace, to school. The sun is shining, it's a beautiful day, but the day is full of painful reminders for both children that they are unusual or different or troublesome or a lot of work and not enough or too much. Meg is being bullied, but nobody sees that. They only see her fighting and they see her failed grades. The heart breaks a little more with every hurt that's piled on top. Everyone wants to see her move forward, to be a success, but her world stopped making sense the day Dad didn't come home, and she just wants to go back. Meg is disconnected somehow from this deep and abiding and ever-present truth of the universe. Love is not gone, it is enfolded. I know that resonates. I know that preaches on its own. What do you and I do when love fades or disappears or life changes? Don't we ask ourselves, was that real? Was that a dream? What do we do with the volume of little individual pinpricks of hurt, suffering, tragedy that we read about, that we hear about, that we experience throughout the day? Don't we call out to God? With our tears in the night or in the day, don't we call out, somebody help me, right? How long have I wavered between soon this will all be over to I got this new normal to this is not normal, mayday, mayday. This call is often made with no sound at all. It just depends on the person. And it is exactly this sound of desperation that reaches three guardians of the light. Guardians, guides, spiritual directors, mentors, goddesses, and please name them what you will. I want you to be able to sleep at night and feel connected to them. They come from the reaches of the universe to help the Murrays. They say, we heard a call, a desperate call for light, and light comes to those who call upon it. I know we know that. I want to encourage us to be calling on the light daily. Meg and her younger brother, Charles Wallace, and a new friend, Calvin O'Keefe, they travel through space and time and also through the core of their own souls in order to save themselves and Meg's father and give us all a chance. It is incredibly difficult to pick one moment from this film. Every minute is packed with layers of light. It is saturated in bright colors purposefully. The lyrics of every song have been carefully synced to remind you of the deep spiritual and abiding presence of light and love. There are, of course, the Mrs. Whatsit, Mrs. Who, and Mrs. Which, these glorious and full of color characters, diverse in their beauty and so appreciative and admiring of each other. Light, refracting light, right? Every word in this film has been delicately selected. or adapted to reach the modern viewer. And I see love in every frame. Every choice was intentional and decided from a place of love. There is an interview that you can see. Go to the Google, and you can type in something like Wrinkle in Time, director and cast interview, something like that. But there is an 8-minute interview where they are talking about how purposefully and therapeutically their choices were made for the purposes of paying it forward for future generations, to save humanity and propel it forward in this film. Watch Meg fly. Think about that moment. That was a purposeful and intentional moment. When you see Meg fly, I think of Never Ending Story. I think of E.T. I think of all of those stories where children have the capacity to fly, but think for a minute how powerful and meaningful and inspirational it is to see Storm Reed, a lovely Black girl, play this part. And girls all over the world can now see themselves as the girl who flies. In this interview, you hear Ms. Oprah Winfrey and Ms. Anna DuVernay, the director, speak to that moment and how that part of seeing Meg fly spoke to the part of the little girl inside of them. Or that one moment where Meg turns to Calvin in the midst of the storm. This is a beautiful moment, this little Black girl turning to a little Caucasian boy and saying, "Do you trust me?" And to have him say, "Yes, I trust you." And he follows her. He follows her leadership. That moment right there, until we are free. I cry thinking about that moment because we've never seen that on film quite like that. And the director is saying to us, that was my love. Those are her eyes that we're seeing through. Love of herself, of her community, her humanity, what she shares with us, her love of God. She, Anna DuVernay, has been pouring her life energy into us for years, teaching us with her films, Selma and 13th, and those were acts of love. But with Lengel's novels, she has helped us all open our hearts even more fully to one another. She has added to our vocabulary and our recall in our memory. Now, right, we're gonna have this image in our mind. She has opened the channel and blasted the frequency of love. I love this movie. I just want to acknowledge in this moment, though, that I know it's difficult to create much of anything right now. She's got this amazing art, and we can all enjoy it, and you might be seeking a way to be creative, and I think this movie can teach us about that moment too. There is an important part of the film for me that I wish I could play for you. I don't have access to this clip. It's in the middle of the movie, and they visit the happy medium who will assist them in their search, but there's trouble. It's Meg trouble, right? She doubts, she questions, she's worried. And this is that moment where Reese Witherspoon says, "We have to show her what's possible." And Oprah says, "Take my hands." And they come together in a circle. And Oprah is Mrs. Witch. And Mrs. Witch says, "See with my eyes and do not look away. We need warriors of the light." And Meg says, "I will try." That moment, I will try. And it is in this moment that we all get to see what we're up against. The darkness. It too is a web that connects us, just like the light. It will test you every day, and the closer you get to defeating it, the harder it will hold on to you. It does not want you to be with anyone else. It wants you to be alone, disconnected from your love. It's got its grips on everyone. The school bully Veronica and Meg. It's got its grips in Calvin's father and in Meg's father. And everyone in that moment grows in love for all of humanity. And they are smart enough to start applying it to themselves. They're smart enough to start seeing, oh, I need to give some love and attention to my own psyche and patterns of thought. We are not immune, Christian. We are not perfect vessels of light. We are called to do that internal work as well as the external work. And it is then that the words of Jesus come back to Meg through the guidance of the misses as they journey on to Camazotz, a place so dark the misses cannot even go. They say, love is not gone, it is enfolded. I have heard these words spoken by mothers and fathers through the generations as they send their children off to camp or to college, to the great unknown, or even to sleep at night. Love is not gone, it is enfolded. These are words of light, of deep and abiding love and connection, and I have heard them spoken as an incomprehensible truth, spoken from one partner to another on the last days of life. Love is not gone. It is enfolded. These are words that are balm to my soul. All these many days that we have been sequestered, one from the other. 1/2 of a year when we all imagined that this would be a wrinkle in our schedule, a wrinkle in our hopes, a mere distraction from our daily living. How long have we been gone? Lord, have mercy. And still the ancestors speak to us. Love is not gone, it is enfolded. The trials on Camazotz are the trials of 2020. Some look like actual storms, tornadoes, violent winds that you must face head on in order to get anywhere. No more running from the big ones. Hold on to one another, commands Mrs. Witch. Some trials look like the comforts and safety of home, but somehow it's easy to be suspicious of those since everyone is acting like robots or just ignoring how weird everything is. Charles Wallace said in the movie, the rhythm, it hurts. Some trials look like a day at the beach with all the bells and whistles and all your friends and yet all your favorite foods taste like sand. And the joy of the party evaporates as you realize that your brother is still suffering. It's emptiness dressed as luxury. It's all taken care of without options or alternatives, says the it. Some trials may look like the complete absence of love, like it's vanished, never to return, and you won't recognize any of the signs that you once recognized. And in that moment, what I saw in the movie, what I heard from the ancestors is that you will need a spark, a look, a touch of light, a memory of light can do it to remind you. And that happens for every person in the film, for Meg and Calvin, for Dad, for Mom, for Charles Wallace, just the jolt to remind you and bring you back into your body, back in touch with your feelings. Don't look away, look closer. Love is not gone, it is enfolded. I know that there is some part of you that feels lost in an endless dream where you're unprepared for a test and you're also late for it and you can't find the room, but it's Tuesday and you're awake. I know that in some part of you on any given day, you are energetically preparing for a fight that you feel somewhat or entirely helpless against. I can't name what that fight is for you. There's a buffet right now. But that energy that makes you scrappy and defensive and anxious, I would argue that is love enfolded. Search for the love, the purpose of our actions, the desires of your heart, bind it to the heart of God, be motivated by love. A friend loves at all times, and a brother is born for adversity. We are brothers and sisters by choice, and we are in transformation as a family. The transformation of the church in 2020, in this moment, it can be an act of intentional love. But to travel this far, it is a difficult tesser. I am learning that we have serious and important internal work ahead of all of us, Heart of Eugene, in order that we might reach out as far as our hearts tell us that we are called to. Mrs. Witch would say to you today, do you realize how many events, how many choices that had to occur since the birth of the universe, leading up to the making of you, just exactly the way that you are? The universe is looking for warriors of light. The universe is calling forth your gifts, your faults, your imperfections, you, calling upon you to name them and love them and use them. I honor and acknowledge the struggle that is going on inside of you today, beloved disciples. I don't understand it either. Meg's mom says in the book, I don't understand it any more than you do, but one thing I've learned is that you don't have to understand things for them to be. I want to honor and acknowledge that this internal work that you are called to right now, and you are, is the work of the church. Our program right now is pastoral care. It is community care. It is self-care. Ask a church leader. Most business is really incredibly difficult to wade through right now. Decisions that feel impossible on both sides, and if we come together to just do business, we can leave with wounded hearts. And then we remember the heart is the business. The strength of the relationship is our product. Relationship to self and neighbor and God. We make this product for the healing and protection of the world, and that we might have life. It's not business, it's life. I want to acknowledge that if you aren't in one of these circles of leadership right now, you can feel downright cut off, outcast, excluded. I am not dismissing your lived experience, and I must ask, in the deepest place in your soul, do you really believe that you are cut off from God? From spirit? From your family of choice? Remember, love is not gone, it is enfolded. This journey that we are on consists not of seeking new landscapes, but having new eyes. We seek life and freedom. Go searching, church. Be a warrior of light. Love is the frequency. May it be so. May it be so. May it be so that as we sing this song, that you, God, weave your way more solidly, more assuredly into our beings. Thank you, Chris, for leading us in song.